Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. This is a deck tech with Rose Tico, Nabat Village. I promise you folks that we would have a deck tech, and we're coming through. This deck was so unique, and nobody is playing Rose. So I thought we had a gentleman that made it to the top fifth in a PQ, so he essentially made it to the quarterfinals inside of a PQ. That was a rather larger PQ as well. And so I thought, hey, well, let's have him on. Let's talk a little bit about the deck. Let's kind of go through like a deck tech, like an actual deck tech for this. So if you want to take this deck, pick it up and bring it to your locals, you're able to do so. With that being said, please welcome my guest tonight, Cole or Cabo from online. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. Pretty excited for this.
Yeah, so it's exciting. If you don't know a ton about the show, our show does talk a lot about meta crap, but we love this like out of like sync type like decks that people bring that are just like, oh my god, like who would have thought Rose would have ever made top in a PQ? Like Rose Showcase, I think is at $23 today when I looked. Like
I've seen listings for 20. I got mine around the 40 range, and it's dropped since then, and I'm doing my best to bring it back up at least to 40.
And that was kind of the same way. Like Lando, when that first got released, Lando dropped down to like $30. So I bought my Lando. Like, thank you. I don't even care if it doesn't do well. I just want the Lando showcase. So we thought we'd have you on and talk a little, kind of do like a deck tech, and this is outside of our normal video. So folks, if you're watching this, we do full length episodes that you can check out right on our YouTube. But I thought we would do a special deck tech just about this Rose Nabat Village deck because I thought it was so interesting. But before we get into it, Cole, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of tell us how you got into SWU, where you're from, and why you picked Rose of all of the pilot or all of the leaders out there.
Yeah, so I know there was some fun talk about why anyone would play Rose, but I'm Cole. I go by Cabo online. I started playing SWU I think at the end of set 2. I was on my way home for fall break. I go to school down in Missouri, and I live up in Wisconsin. So I had two friend groups that were rooting for me that day. But on my way home, a friend was like, hey, there's this new game that I just found. Like, I think it looks pretty cool. You should check it out. And on the way home, I watched a few videos of McClunky Gaming had just covered one of the tournaments going on. And I'm like, all right, this game looks pretty cool. My friend never ended up getting into it that much, but here I am 8-9 months later. So I got into it. I got 4 packs of set 1 and 4 packs of set 2, and I built my first IG-88 ECL deck.
Oh wow!
And was cheating the entire time with ECL. I've since learned that I cannot, in fact, play a Ruthless Raider for free on turn 2. But anyway, it's been a fun run. I got on Django early in set 3 and played him to a PQ to a top 4, and then saw a little bit in advance that he was probably going to get banned, and I was like, all right, so I'll move on to another deck. I had been building a lot of Kaz lists at the time, and Kaz Blue was the one that was looking the most stable into the Django meta, so I had a list for that built, and I was about to build that when I saw a deck list get posted in the K2 Discord server. And shout out to Sam WNF. He was the first person to, I don't think he put Nabat together, but he put Rose Yellow together. And I thought, you know what, that looks cool. It looks like it's doing some fun things, playing Paige, playing the Fireball. And I'm like, well, my friend did just pull a Rose Showcase, and he doesn't want it. So go figure. I traded a few cards to my friend, got Rose with the first Showcase I'd ever had. Still have not pulled one.
Oof.
But playing with Rose, I got into it, and right away it was just off to the races, just virgin ground. So many new cards to try out, so many things to put together. We were throwing Ularans left and right. I had the 1/4 2-cost gray ship in there for a while, like trying all these different things. And for the last 5 months, it's just been continual progression to a more and more solid list. I think short of like 6 and above cost cards, I've looked at every possible play, every possible like combo of these colors, because there's a lot less than normal other
Mhm.
combos that, like, this is not a common color scheme that people play. Yellow hero, there's some great cards, but combining that with blue, there's not a lot of interaction there. So finding the few that work together was really fun. And eventually, I pretty early on, I got onto Nabat Village. I thought it was a cool base. I liked being able to put together combos, and then I never really moved off of it. Even if I wasn't playing more than maybe like one combo, it still just felt good drawing 9 cards, seeing all the possible ways to go from there, and then just deciding on 4.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because I've been messing around. I have a local that loves Snoke, and he has a Snoke showcase very similar, and so he played it, and like I dismissed it pretty much at first. Like Snoke did very well in pre-release for me, but like I just kind of like dismissed. I was like, I don't know. And then I was playing with my Boba list against him, and like all of a sudden it started doing better than I thought it
Yeah.
would. And so like now I'm actually looking at it. But he did the same thing. He kind of started with yellow, moved to Nabat,
Mhm.
you know, because of the health. And I think that's kind of like one of the big questions, right? Like you chose the bat because it gives you the bigger hand, right?
Yep.
But you know, like you're also losing the 3 health. So
Yeah.
you know, I know
Well,
that's always kind of a question that people
yeah.
have.
And from the get go, we weren't trying to make Rose a mid range or a long range deck. People tried playing like redemptions early on because it's like, oh, you could heal it off and then heal the redemption. Like, that's super cool. Um, but it was just going so much better as an aggro deck that it was like, well, if Sabine's fine playing with 5 less health, I feel like I'm fine playing with 3 less.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, if you kind of think about it, like when I switched to Data Vault for a lot of the different lists, you know, when we were testing out last set, right?
Mhm.
That the big thing was yeah, it's nice to have that extra 3 health, but the extra cards were where I cared for, right? Because I was
Oh, yeah.
able to.
Yep.
I'm a toolboxy player. Like I'm
Yeah.
traditionally a Pelp player, right? Like I started out set 1 playing Pelp, and I played Pelp, and then I went to Kira, and then I went to Django, because I was on Django before a lot of people were before
Yeah.
he got super
Oh, I
broken.
got on Django from pre-release. I played him,
Yep.
and then I saw like some early musings about Django Tarkenton, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'll try that out. And so set 3 meta Django was amazing. It was such a fun deck. You had to, you actually had to like work to make things go well. It wasn't just, all right, I'll drop this card and exhaust your entire board, and then I'll drop this one and exhaust your entire board.
Yeah,
So
there was a lot more play
yeah.
to it, and back in set 3, that's when like we could have like you could have some cooler combos. It didn't all just have to be this triple dark grade spaceship garbage. Like you could actually
Yep.
like I ran some, you know, some ground tech as well. Because I took
Oh
a
yeah.
store showdown down with it, and then the first PQ for set 3, I swerved from that and went and played Bosk Blue because I got. So one tip: if you're going to a tournament, don't get drunk at midnight and then change your deck list. Like that's a Tanner thing. I did that. That's how I switched to Bosk Blue, and I went 4 and 3.
Yep.
You know, and would have probably felt better on Django, but
Yeah. Probably.
anyway. So let's talk about Rose. So you tell us a little bit about why you liked the Nabat Village. Like, can you explain why you chose Rose? So like, I kind of figured my assumption is because you can attack things, or if something attacks it, it takes 2. You know, it takes 2 people, 2 ships typically to kill one of your ships outside of like maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Mhm.
And so like she has the ability to heal that ship in between. So it's going to be harder for them to just outright kill things without being just like a hard control type deck.
Yeah.
So tell us about your choice. Why'd you pick Rose over Kaz?
So one of the main reasons I picked Rose, actually, as we were taking her into an aggro route, looking at her 4-6 for 5 stat line. It's a very aggro stat line put on the body of a blue hero leader, which is normally a like mid-range, I'm gonna restore, I'm gonna do all this and sentinel and make the game last a super long time. So I'm like, okay, going aggro with her seems like a fun different route. And coupled with that, just like early, like set one, like Boba had the fire spray in his armor printed with him. I think there's two cards printed that maybe not as good as those fit with Boba, but if we look at Fireball and Page Tico, these are two cards that are insane in their areas, do things that no other ship does or no other cards do, and paired with Rose, they're actually incredibly playable. So turn one Fireball is into any like space deck, there's very few. There's like two cards that exist that aren't good to run this into. There's the 3/2 green hero ship, the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, and then there's Kylo's TIE Silencer. Those are the only two cards I know of that would kill the Fireball back turn one. Other than that, the field is littered with 2/3s, with 1/3s, with 2/2s, with 0/3s, like the raid 3/0/3 like red ship. Um, there's a ton of stuff in the field that dies to Fireball turn one ambush. And normally that's because the Fireball would then die that turn or maybe the next turn if you have Kaz on it or something. So playing it with Rose, you can attack and instantly heal it back off. And you are met with a fresh 3/2, and you've just ruined your opponent's first turn. And that is a huge play. Coupling that with the X-34 Landspeeder to have two ambushing units, both of which have the possibility of killing units and surviving, was a really great opening for Rose early on. I don't think I even started on the X-34 Landspeeder. I think I found that later on. But right away, it was just a fun thing. And then pairing it with so many other good units that just make Rose somewhat playable. Rose, for being a blue leader, not the card blue leader, but a blue hero leader. I've always felt bad for whatever reason for not playing more blue cards in the deck. Even going to this tournament, there's 3 total different kinds of cards that have blue in them. So it's like I'm really just forcing her to play in yellow, which I've always thought like, well, is there a yellow leader that's going to play this list better then? But I've never wanted to move off of her because the interactions with these cards, being able to heal them, is the reason that the deck works the way it does. So going with it is like being able to play the Falcon, being able to play the Han Solo pilot, being able to play my favorite combo in the game with R2 and Razor Crest. There's just so many things that made it work well. And I had the deck in earlier renditions as a much more interaction based deck that it was doing so many things to mess with my opponents and make the game hard for them to figure out. I played things from super heavy ion cannon, put it on a transport, and I'm not only going to exhaust one of your cards, but I'm also going to deal indirect damage to you based off of it. That was a fun one for a while. Playing things like the Sabine 4-cost unit that whenever it's exhausted, it can't be attacked. I had renditions where I was running that. It's like, all right, when I got to deal with this, oh, and I'm killing you in space too. So the deck has seen so many different iterations, and I feel like where it's landed has just the right balance of interaction while focusing aggro and being able to focus aggro because Rose is keeping things alive.
Fair enough. Well, let's do everyone a favor. I'm going to bring up the list. Let's go through the list real quick. And so, Cole, I'll let you read the list. You don't need me to read it. So go ahead, read through the list. Tell us what's actually in your list, and then we can kind of start getting into the breakdown of some of the stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So we have Rose Tico and Nabat Village as your leader in base. Funnily enough, I do not have a hyperfoil Nabat. That was not the reason that I got on. I have run my basic foil Nabat since the beginning. So getting into the deck, we have 3 Cartel Turncoats, a huge unit that I should have got on earlier, but for a while just wasn't focusing on it. Then we've got 3 R2D2s, we got 2 Republic Y-Wings, 3 Jam Comms, 3 Fireballs, 3 N1 Starfighters, 3 Page Ticos, 3 X-34 Landspeeders, only 2 Bamboozles on the main board, there's one on the side, then 3 Sneak Attacks, 3 Surprise Strikes, 2 L337, the pilot version, and then 3 JTO Falcons, 3 Set 1 Falcons, or Fast Falcons, 3 Razor Crest, the yellow kind, 3 Han Solo pilots, 3 Survivor's Gauntlets, and 2 Mandalorian pilots. So that rounds out the main board. It's got around 10 competitive pilots, and then R2D2 coming in as a tech pilot. And then a good combo of units, and I feel like just the right amount of events to make it work well. Looking to the sideboard, it is full of events. These are basically all just different ways that I can tech the deck to whatever matchup I sit across from. The swoop downs, being able to kill like the bigger problem units, being able to go into Anakin is one of the ones that I've always had that in for. So we got 2 of those. We got the extra Bamboozle, whatever I feel like I just want that 3rd copy. We got 3 breaking ins for the Saboteur mainly. 2 outmaneuvers, really great into Sabine or Vader Yellow. A few different things there. And then the 2 Waylays, which I will say got added probably Friday night before the tournament and did not get brought into the deck once. So
Wow.
I won't defend those very much.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about opening hands. So you picked Nabat Village, right, for a reason. There was a specific reason. Yep. You kind of gave me a quick breakdown about you need the 2 drop ships, and I tried to include all of it, and I just thought, well, it's probably is better. Let's just talk through your opening hand. So like Nabat Village allows you to draw extra cards. So you get the 9 cards, right, which is really good. But you do not get to mulligan. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, did you ever brick with this? Like any games?
Oh, so I do brick with this. It's not a brickless thing. Like at the end of the day, I'm seeing 9 cards. Other people see 12. So there is a little bit of a downside there, but I have, I think, 11 turn 1 ships that I can play, and then like 14 good turn 1 plays if I include, actually no, there's 14 turn 1 ships and 17 turn 1 plays if I include jam comms. So it's very rare that I'm missing a turn 1 play entirely. It has happened very rarely, but at least getting like a jam comms in is something that normally happens, or getting a 1 cost ship down. But short of that, normally what I'm trying to do is set up not necessarily with combos, but with just constructed opening hands for whatever matchup I'm sitting across from. So there is one combo that I'll look for, which is R2 and Razor Crest. That one, which is listed at the bottom on the slide there, is probably the one that I look for the most. If I see Razor Crest and R2 and I'm not playing like hard control or something, I'm normally going to keep that, because being able to play that turn 3 is a huge bonus, which we'll get into later. So one of the main plays that gets played the most often is just dropping a 2-drop ship. The next turn, I'm wanting to put a pilot on that if it survives, and then play hopefully a 1-cost ship. And then planning for that, if the turn 1 ship doesn't survive, I still get to put out that 1-cost ship. I could put out a 2-cost ship if I draw it, or I could just play a pilot onto that 1-cost ship and be set up for the next turn.
Yeah, so my assumption is if you're playing against aggro, you worry a little bit less, right, about them killing your ships, because they're typically racing you. Like even the Sabine, for the most part, unless they really don't like that ship, they aren't killing it specifically, you know. And none of your turn 1 ships, except for one. Well, you have 2. I guess you do have 2 of them that have 3 power. So you do have 2 that have 3 power, but they probably don't think of the Rose interaction, because that's what I found was neat when we went over your list the other day. I was like, you know what? You could play either of those ambush units, kill something or do 2 to 3 damage to it, and as long
Yep.
as your ship lives, you can just heal it the same turn.
Yes.
Probability is you're not going to have initiative anyway. Like,
Oh, I
So who
rarely have
cares?
initiative in this deck.
so like that's actually pretty nifty. Like to be able to do that, like I never really thought about that because like the fireball traditionally, like I like it in Kaz because I could just stop Kaz's thing, but I can't heal it. So in this way, you just do this. You're going to heal the 2 damage. It does the 1 damage back, and then you can be able to swing with it or do something whatever you want to it.
Yeah. I honestly feel that Rose plays the fireball better than Kaz. Kaz, if you ambush in, it's going to be sitting on 2 health or like 1 health remaining if you hit a 2/3 ship. And even if you blanket, there's so many things that could ping 1 for the next turn. So I feel like, yeah, that 2-drop, having both of the 2-drop ambushers is a hand that I've kept before. It doesn't play the best always, but into certain decks that I know that they're likely going to play one or the other, and they have very few 3-power units that they play turn 1. Being able to drop one of those and take it out, or at least put on 2 damage with the land speeder, is a really great play. So for aggro, 100%, like the 2 hands that I'm keeping the most often is the first one, a 2-drop ship, a 1-cost play, a 2-cost pilot, and then something extra. And then the 2-drop ambush ships, a pilot and a 1-cost play probably. So those ones are really great into aggro, really great into decks that aren't going to turn to open fire or turn to power. Those decks, the 2 middle lineups are my more favored ones. 2 1-drop ships, so that I still have something to play a pilot on, or having a 1-drop ship and then playing jam comms that first turn to strip their power. If they draw into another one, they got lucky. I didn't. That's the way it works. So those ones lend themselves much more so to control, especially getting like 2 ships out. I don't think there's a single card that would take out both of those the next turn. Short of like the return to hand and each unit called the same if I played like 2 card toe turn codes or something.
Yeah.
So, and normally that color scheme isn't playing super control anyway.
Yeah, because you're thinking of clear the field.
Yeah, clear the field. Yep.
And yeah, most people. I will say, like, I did tech that into Vader, like against Vader for a little while, but it just really wasn't like in the long run. It wasn't worth it. And by the time they got enough ships to kind of make that card of value, you're like,
it's a little late now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't, whatever. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess I could get rid of all their ties, but like if you just control the board, you're just doing better.
Yeah.
But grenade strike, I would say could do something, but you have 2-3 health ships, so it doesn't kill
strike,
both of them, so it doesn't matter.
At least for the turn 1s, they're both 3 health, so they can throw that grenade strike in, but I'm gonna heal that off in a second with Rose anyway. That's why damage-based removal, except for Overwhelming Barrage. That one's a problem for the deck. But most other damage-based removal actually goes a little bit better into my hand because I can hopefully have the unit survive, and then if they don't have something else to back up that damage, I'm just going to heal it off a little bit later. So it normally doesn't get played if it's not going to kill the unit because they know that I'm just going to heal it off. Outright removal with other things like Fell the Dragon, Takedown, Power of the Dark Side, that's what I'm more used to seeing. And starting off with 2 ships, rolling straight into a 2-drop ship and another 1-drop ship even, like just setting up the board to where, all right, I've got a bunch of units now, your removals aren't helping you. What are you going to do? Now it's your problem to fix. So
yeah, so you're looking for turn. So your turn 1, that makes a lot of sense, right? Being able to play a couple of ships if it's a control, being able to play a more aggressive ship, being able to ambush if you're going second. And then your turn 2 plays, you're looking to play like pilots, right? Or jam communication's a great one. And I 100% agree. Jam communication. I don't remember if it was Eric or Alex that got me onto that when that first came out. And I was like, this is a stupid card. And they're like, just it's not. You're spending 1, and yes, you have to get rid of a card, but you're gonna spend 1 to be able to stop possibly their whole turn. And I never thought about that, like, because in my Iden deck, for example, I'm primarily a control player, except for my, like, I play Boba, so that was my kind of, I switched to Boba because of the meta. But anyway, like in Iden, like I stopped running the overwhelming barrage because people would just jam it out of my hand. They just play jam communication on the 5 resource turn 1, and then you're like, well, there goes that plan. I don't have anything to do, and I just I play other removal cards instead. But it also probably makes sense because if you're playing against an aggro deck, you can just jam communication that first round and just dump out their dump out like a surprise strike or but breaking in. I guess nobody runs breaking in that often. They should, but they don't. So all right, well, I think that's smart. That kind of sets up, like that's kind of what you're looking to do. Turn 1 and 2. Like the other question I do have though is, like, because you said you're not super wanting to play Falcons on turn 2. You're more looking to continue to build a board state or push a little bit of extra damage. But I do have to ask, and I guess this is a turn 2 play that could be done 2, 3, 4, whatever. You have L337. Can you sneak attack and bring L337 in, have her kill something, and then dump her onto a ship to be able to like swing in and then not worry about it because she's no longer a unit that you have to sack? Like, is that like a play that you do, or is that like just out there crazy?
Yes. So I will say that interaction is mainly theory. I haven't played a ton of it in practical. But it is there for a reason, and that's because you can sneak attack L337, and if you run her into a unit and she dies, that same turn you can move her onto a ship before like the sneak attack trigger would happen, and even attack with that ship with the buff. And then now that she's an upgrade, the sneak attack is no longer applying.
That's just hilarious. Like I never thought about that, right? But like that makes sense with her because she doesn't have the ambush. But on turn 2, you got a ship in the air. They're playing an aggro deck. You can put, it does take 2 cards, but you can use it as a way to still push damage and kill their turn 1 play. Like I just never thought about that, but that would make a lot of sense, right? Yeah.
The 2 cards is the bigger kicker. Because I do not have like hardly any card draw in this deck, which comes to bite sometimes. But being able to do that with L3 is a really fun move. Even if you aren't attacking a unit, because if I'm just putting damage on a unit, I'm not really interested in running that into it. I'd rather just send L3 to base, and then during the regroup phase, when she dies, move her onto a ship at that point. The only problem is L3's text is unfortunately not very cohesive with the rest of the JTL pilot set. Her text specifically says that you cannot put her on a ship that has a pilot. Even if that's R2, even if it's the Falcon that can take 2 pilots, L3 cannot go on a ship with a pilot. She likes her seat too much, apparently. So there's a few plays where like that doesn't help, but if you have an open ship with no pilot, 100% she can go on it, whether it's the sneak attack death or whether it happens before that. And another fun interaction is if you sneak attack her later for whatever reason and you have a Razor Crest out, if you move her onto the Razor Crest during the regroup phase, it still triggers, and it triggers before the units are readied. So you could still use the Razor Crest effect before they even ready units, and possibly they think they have their 4-power unit about to attack base with Surprise Strike and win, and you're just like, actually, you don't have that unit anymore. It's in your hand now.
That's hilarious. But yeah, let's talk about turn 3 places. I'm very interested to know this Razor Crest R2-D2 combo.
Yeah.
Because I've never played, like, I did not play the Razor Crest in almost any of my decks. Like, I don't
think anyone did. I did not see it much, and I'm like, this is a crazy powerful unit. Why is no one playing this?
Yeah, and I think it's just the stat line on it was just it's just like for a 4 cost is really hard. And I get like tech is the same, and I get technically
Mhm.
speaking like Cassian is very similar-ish, but like I don't know, like I think that's just always been the deterrent is it's a 4 cost unit to the 3-5, but I guess we do have R2D2. If we had a few other pilots, I think that would be free or
Yeah.
almost free. It's probably worth it then. But anyway, tell us about the Razor Crest, why you chose that, and why that's like the end all be all combo in this deck.
Yeah. So, and I can't blame you for not liking the Razor Crest. I've had multiple other people that I've worked with on the Rose deck that haven't run it mainboard. Um, and I was actually just talking with a friend of mine that if he watches this video, hi Chewy, uh, but he was like, I don't know, may have to bring it back in if it's the sauce. So Razor Crest and R2 is my favorite combo in the game. Being able to if a deck is playing conventional, like if my opponent is playing conventional cards, they're gonna cost curve, they're gonna go 2, 3, probably 4. Um, if they play their 4 drop and I play my Razor Crest out, if they have like no other interaction to stop the Razor Crest or anything, I play R2 onto the Razor Crest and I return their exhausted 4 drop to their hand, and their entire turn is wasted. Which at turn 3 is a huge play. And there are a good number of 4 cost cards that come out and are very relevant in the meta. Used to be more so. Bright Hope was one of the largest kickers with this. If I have my 1 drop ship with like a page pilot on it, it's about to hit for 7. They're like, oh, I'm gonna soak that damage into my Bright Hope. I'm like, actually, I'm gonna return that Bright Hope to your hand, and I'm still gonna hit your base this turn. Um,
That's kind of genius. I never thought about that because
yeah,
yeah, you could play it down. You don't give it doesn't have to attack, right? It's just
nope,
you're just playing R2D2, and a lot of people probably miss the fact that R2D2 doesn't cost anything. So
yep.
I have another dumb question. If L337 is on the ground, you can run her into something, kill her, and put her on the Razor Crest and do the same thing too, right? Okay.
I had I played one game online like a while back that I was playing an opponent who apparently did not read my cards. I had L3 on the ground, not sneak attacked, but just on the ground, and I had a Razor Crest in the air, and he ran one of his units into L3 and traded with it. And I'm like, okay, I attach it to the Razor Crest and I return your only other unit on the field. I'm like, I'm not sure that worked out for you, but okay.
Yeah.
So it's a sneaky interaction. If people don't read it, it's gonna go poorly. And a lot of people start reading, and they're like, "Oh, okay, it can return 2 cost stuff." And then I'm like, "All right, I'll return your Darth Tyrannus to hand." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's exhausted, so I can return him." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't read that part." It's like, yeah, you gotta read the cards. So that combo is a great play. It's something that people don't see coming. Like if you're out of resources, maybe people expect a bamboozle, but no one expects 0 cost R2 to come onto a Razor Crest and make their turn completely ineffective.
Yeah. Nope. And I guess that makes a lot of sense. And that's like, if you look at like how control decks work, really, that's kind of like a control deck type. That's a to control logic. That's
Mhm.
very, very logical in a control deck, but you're playing an aggro deck. But I guess, if they're
Yeah.
not, especially if they're not really controlling your board and you have a unit or two to dirtle with, like, you don't even have to play your Razor Crest right away. You can wait till they play their unit, then play your Razor Crest and your R2D2. So,
Mhm. And like against people that I've played over and over again at like weeklies and whatnot, if I play the Razor Crest, they're like, "Oh, I think I know what's coming," whether or not I have it. So being able to dirtle with that and wait for them to bring their unit out, then I drop the Razor Crest, and they're like, "Oh, come on, now I know what's coming." So it's a really great play. You can play around with it. You can kind of surprise your opponents with it. Um, and yeah, it being more of a control play, it still works in an aggro deck because the main focus of the deck is aggro, but I need all the other forms of interaction to come along with it to work together. Rose is there to heal the stuff. Razor Crest is there to clear the way, or to stop them from being able to kill me first. And especially with R2, like once I've played that, I've set myself up for the next turn. If they don't kill this thing, there's a good chance I have another pilot in hand to just do it all over again. And so it's a really great card that even if for 4 I'm playing a slow unit that only has 3 power, it still has interaction that can help win me the game.
Yep. And if you think about it too, I mean, it does have the 5 health. And once you add R2D2 on there, it's a 4/6, and 4/6 is the sweet spot, right? Like that's you cannot get taken down any longer, and you can't fell.
Else on it, yeah.
Yep. So like, really, you're just like we've at like so when we were playing with the Boba deck, the original in set 4 of the Boba Data Vault deck was doing using that MC30 because it's got the 1 overwhelm. It's a 5-hit. We switched to the Dorian ship specifically because it's a 4/6, and like you cannot interact with it without a specific type of card or running into it before Boba flips onto it. And so like that was always like the key piece to it. And it's kind of funny because like when I played some mirrors with it, and like other people have the shielded unit that's still the 3/4, and it's like, well, that could still be taken down. It can have all these other crazy things go on with it. So okay, so turn 3, you're looking to play Razor Crest and R2D2. If not, you have the slew of events. You could just continue to build your board. I think that's like, we don't want to like harp too much on that piece.
Past that, it's like you're just playing SWU. You're playing whatever cards put damage on base. You're playing whatever cards stop damage on your base. So if I have 2 ships, 2 pilots, that sounds great. If I have a Falcon in hand and a 1-cost play, well, sure, I'll do that. And I will say, like, this is, you mentioned it earlier, but like playing the Fast Falcon, this is the first turn that I'd say I feel somewhat comfortable doing it. Turn 4 with 5 resources is really the sweet spot. But this is the first turn that's like, okay, if I play this now, the next turn, it's not going to really mess me up if I keep it out there. And so whatever you're doing to push damage, that's a great play. Getting more ships out for more pilots, putting pilots on the ships you already have, keeping things alive. I've teched a little bit since the tournament, and I have a few more things that are like there specifically to keep units from dying, to help Rose, because Rose, with her, it has to have attacked. Sometimes it's a little too slow to save units. And so I have a few more things to help with that. But with the deck the way it is now, like just pushing damage and pumping more units. It's a low-cost deck. You flood the board and you flood the base with damage, and they have to have the stuff to stop it.
Yep. And so if we move on to your turn 4, turn 5 play, that's, I'm assuming you're flipping Rose for the most part on turn 4. Like that would be my assumption is you don't wait. But it does also allow you to get that kind of that double heal off, right? Because you can attack something, heal Dirtle a little bit, flip her. Hopefully they can't just outright kill her. Again, she is a 4/6, so really like being able to play, like they have to play 2 spells to actually damage her enough to just wipe her off the board. And turn 5, unless they've ramped, they don't have a Rival's Fall in hand to kill her. So,
and the thing with Rose is normally for turn 4, she's the last action I play, because I have Dirtle the entire time attacking with units, playing stuff, whatever, and they are out of stuff to do. And I'm like, all right, well, now I'll deploy my leader and do another 4 damage to base. Her stat line is one of the big things that helps. 6 health, there's not a lot that pre-exists on turn 4 that can kill her. Turn 5, stuff starts getting out there. There's plenty of stuff that can kill her. And if they're messing with her, I'm not that offended by it. I'm kind of okay, because I'm just going to keep attacking with space. At the end of the day, it's a space aggro deck. So if they're taking the time to really mess with my leader, I'm just going to keep hitting them in space. So turn 4, flipping Rose is going to be like the eventual action. But with your 5 resources, I think the best play I like is Falcon and Surprise Strike. Um, that's going to be 6 extra damage you get that turn, coupled with whatever you already have on the board. And then you have your Falcon out and ready to, if you're playing like a control deck, you can keep doing the Falcon thing and return it to hand, play it out again, and just keep doing that to get the rest of the damage. So besides that, again, if you have ships, you can put pilots on them. That's extra damage. If you don't have ships, hopefully you're close to damage on base and you can get more ships out. And basically, turn 4, what I'm setting up for is to threaten lethal with more than 1 unit on turn 5. Or turn 5, be able to play some kind of card that they won't see coming that will guarantee it the next turn. Basically, they have to keep interacting, and if I ever get the chance where they're out of resources and I've got lethal the next turn, I claim and I've got it. So playing after turn 4, after the 5 resource turn, you're basically just trying to put the final amount of damage you need on base.
Yeah. And if we talk a little bit, if we move on, you know, you don't typically get to turn 6, right? So your turn, so I think I titled the slide wrong, but that's okay. Your turn 6 is because you can also sneak attack a Survivor's Gauntlet in, right?
Yep.
You know, and then that allows you guys, kind of like my belief would be, is once you do your Falcon, you do that. If you have the ability, you can resource, and then you can play your sneak attack Survivor's Gauntlet, and then you have, like, you can just move all the pilots you want around. Like, I mean, you can move around a Han Solo off a Falcon to another Falcon, or to your Survivor's Gauntlet, and now you're swinging in for 6 damage twice, and that feels pretty good. The Survivor's Gauntlet was actually one of my favorite cards when we did the draft for that set. I love that card.
Yeah,
like
it's a fun one for sure.
So essentially you're telling us you're that's your end game is turn 5, turn 6 at the latest, and if you get to the turn 6, it's because you have stuff in both arenas or you have multiple ships out that you're really just hoping they can't super laser blast the board.
So
kill you.
Get like turn 6 is like something went wrong earlier, or they delayed me a few extra turns than I was planning, and hopefully now I have lethal units, or I have enough units that they can't remove all of them. I will say Survivor's Gauntlet was one that I added more recently. And it's really great in theory, especially with sneak attack plays. But in practice, one of 2 things normally happens. Normally, I've won before I need it, or the reason I'm trying to play it is because I haven't won yet, because they've been removing my units with the pilots. So I used it a few times in the tournament. One notable use was to move an entrenched off of one of my space units over onto Rose, so that Rose could just mess with the ground arena and the space unit could keep attacking. That was a cool use of it as well. And you can do the same thing with enemy units. One of the notable ones being, not that it will necessarily be a super great play, but if they have a constructed saber on something that is giving it Sentinel, you could move that onto a unit that it would be raid or restore instead, and that could open up a lane for Rose. There's a few different notable plays there. I will say, in moving the pilots, you do not get the when played as an upgrade again. It's not when attaches, it's a when played thing. So it's not like you're re-getting the Mandalorian exhaust or re-getting the Han Solo quick attack.
It's like a free surprise strike, right?
Yes.
Or maybe not surprise strike, a free breaking in. There you go.
And I will say,
it's just a pump.
I will say a theoretical play exists where you can have 24 damage on your opponent's base by turn 3. If they don't interact with your units, which is rare, but some decks will do it, like Sabine normally isn't interacting with your stuff. If you have like a fireball turn 1, get page on it turn 2, and get a cartel turncoat out, you'll have swung for 6 damage. And then turn 3, if you swing for 7 with that page fireball, and then sneak attack the gauntlet for 4 resources, move page onto the cartel turncoat, swing for 5, and then attack with the gauntlet, and on attack move page onto the gauntlet and swing for another 7, your opponent will be on 24 damage on base on turn 3, and you're deploying your leader the next turn.
Yeah.
It's kind of a crazy play. Sneak attack gauntlet is a fun one. It opens up so many things with it being a when played and on attack. And I think like the only other 5-cost ship I would play in that spot is the Dakar cargo frigate, which I had in previously before it, which is like the 6/7, but it loses power whenever it does damage. That one is a fun one as well. It's a big beef that they have to take out. I just think the gauntlet has more interaction, which is kind of what I've enjoyed about the deck, is just being able to interact while pushing damage.
Fair enough. So let's go on, talk a little bit about your sideboard. We have the Bamboozled. I think that's kind of obvious. It's if you need more removal or if they're playing other pilots or a lot of upgrades, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. If you're playing the pilot deck, it's coming in. So
I mean, it makes sense, especially in a hero. Like I know villains are now running them too, but in hero, it makes a ton of sense because you can either just discard a card for free or pay the cost for it, and it's just 2. And that's usually a pretty blowout play. Like I had a CAD player use that against me in the last PQ I played in, and I was playing Boba, and like completely caught me off guard. I was like, "Oh, you're running Bamboozled now? Great!"
It's a brutal play that, and it coming for 0. Like even if you don't have it, it started to be the mental game that people worry about more. Like they're gonna psych themselves out whether or not you have it in your deck even. So it's a great card. I will say, for as many times as I brought that 1 extra in, I brought the 2 in the main board out. So it's such a matchup dependent card, and I feel like having 2 in the main board was the right amount, and having the 1 extra in the sideboard, I feel like that also opens up more for me to focus on other plans in the main board, and I'm not going all in where suddenly I'm going to draw 2 bamboozles and they're not going to be useful in the matchup.
Yeah.
So,
and I think because people like, I mean, I do know that people are on upgrades right now. Like I think this set kind of pushed the limit, and they're like, well, if we run extra upgrades, right? Like how many Fang Fighters and Confiscates are you going to put main deck for it? And you know, like that's 100% true. And it was funny because I was watching a stream today. Somebody was streaming, and they were streaming like playing Boba Data Vault, and the guy's like, well, I'm gonna resource this Fang Fighter, and then the next turn somebody upgraded their Obi-Wan with a lightsaber or the General's Blade, right? So then you're just like, well, if you kept the Fang Fighter, you've lost the game now. And like, so just long story short is the Bamboozle makes a ton of sense, especially with the Hans and Vaders being very popular, and the Bobas being popular. Like, I mean, that's just like 2 out of those 3 decks are definitely at your event, and there's a probability all 3 are. So let's talk a little bit about outmaneuver. I think that's kind of also an easy, obvious choice. Like that's meant to be able to exhaust all the ground units. But you mentioned Vader earlier, and I want to know, like, how do you play that against Vader? Because you're also in space, right? Like, so what are you just exhausting everybody and just saying we're not going to play this turn? Or
so
how does that go?
Bringing outmaneuver in for space aggro decks is basically the fail-safe backup plan.
Okay.
The hope is to not have to play it, but especially those are very initiative-based matchups. Vader, if they get the capture ship off, it's going to be a problem. If you're playing hero red, like Poe Data Vault, Luke Data Vault, if they get Chewie off, it's going to be a problem. Bamboozle can help with that, but you're also delaying the inevitable. So with outmaneuver, it's basically like, okay, everything went wrong in space. I'm having to shift to ground, and I need to try to buy as much time as I can. It's not the best play. Like, obviously, it's much more useful against ground-based stuff, but also bringing it in for those space things, just in case, especially if like you're going into the second match, you won, now they have the initiative. Um, Sometimes that can roll into your favor because you're playing fireball, but if you don't see the fireball, now you're going to be behind. So having the outmaneuvers in there is basically a fail safe for the space decks, and kind of just a I'm not playing ground, so I'm going to screw you against any other aggro ground based deck. Um, so having two of those was nice. I feel like I'd up it to the third in the future. Um, and there's some other cards that I'd be happy to take out, which I'm sure we're about to get into.
Yeah. Because the next card is your swoop down, and that's obviously just because you're a space deck. It makes a lot of sense if you have to take out a bigger threat on the ground. It's the same thing in the Vader deck I was running. That was just an auto sideboard include ever since set 4. Like I was running swoop down back at Richmond, so like I get why that one makes sense.
And swoop down, I will say, like I don't think I played it at the tournament very much, but the other reason it's there is simply just for Saboteur. Even if I'm not pumping up the unit, for one, just being able to guarantee the attack to base is another thing that I really enjoy. You can see with there being 5 total Saboteur cards in the sideboard, none in the main board, which was kind of a risky call or a meta call, whatever you call it. So having all of that Saboteur in the sideboard, I will say, is because I've been heavily burned before. Blue Hero is one of the most annoying decks that I run into, the ones that are really playing Sentinels, that are using Luke to put shields on Sentinels. All these things, like Saboteur is one that I like always want to have present, even if I don't need it. It's just a security blanket, basically.
Yeah. And then you did say kind of, again, that's the same thing with the breaking in. Like, again, I actually agree with the breaking in for a while.
Yep.
I swapped back off of it just because there wasn't as much Sentinel, but now it's kind of coming back again. Yeah. But yeah, like that was the thing is like breaking in just allows you like any of your ships either go to base, or if they have a shielded unit that you're like, fuck, I can't let this thing live.
Yeah.
I better kill it. Which is funny because, if you're playing against the Boba and they're playing that Terex ship, right? They play the Terex ship so that they can flip Boba onto it. You could just play breaking and swing into that ship, kill the ship, and then Boba has nothing to jump onto. Yeah. And that's actually like, that was used against me a couple of times as well. And I like breaking in personally. Like, I don't know if maybe one of these days we'll all do the math of whether surprise strike or breaking in is better.
One damage is really worth it. Yeah.
Yes. Like, because I think in an aggro deck, you have to be a lot more concerned about it. But that's like, again, I was running breaking into my Vader deck before, like, because I wanted that one less pump. I felt was just better than having to deal with that stupid ass, like Concord Don. Like, I hate that ship. And Vader doesn't have as many ways to kill it as other things do.
I actually love that thing when they play it, because it's like, all right, I'm going to survive, I'm going to kill it, and then your extra 2 damage, I'm healing right back off. It's still a 1/4 to me. So, but yeah, the breaking ins have actually been main deck quite often. I was on a rendition of this deck at one point that I had 8 pumps. I was running the surprise strikes, the breaking ins, and 2 punches, and that was a fun one to run for a while. But I slowly realized that maybe having 8 pumps wasn't the best idea. So they made it to the sideboard for this tournament. I don't think I sideboarded them in, but still, it's basically just having them there for the security. Just because I'm not sideboard, like, just because in general with sideboards, just because you're not sideboarding it in doesn't mean it's a bad card. Because there's a reason it's there. And if you don't run into the reason it's there, then you're not going to sideboard it in, but there was still a reason. So the breaking ins, I think, are a great card to have there. I think having 3 of them is worth it, because if you bring them in, it's in a case where that's definitely a card that you want to see. And I will say the last card in the sideboard, there's also a reason it's there, but I think it is a much less worthy reason to me. having the waylays was mainly for upgrade plays, being able to run into decks that were playing upgrades like turn 2 General's Blade was one of the main reasons that I put Waylay in the sideboard. Um, but I I've never been a big Waylay person. And I understand like back to when I started when I watched like McClunky Gaming like set 2 tournaments, like every other game I was hearing Waylay, Waylay, Waylay. I'm like, I don't know what that is. But whenever I found out, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I see the benefit, especially in later games where you could waylay a Devastator and you've just taken out like so much and you get to play a whole bunch of stuff. It makes sense, but to me, I've never felt like I want to take up the entirety of my turn 2 or a good majority of one of my like next sequential turns to simply just prolonging the game. Because
Yeah.
it's like they play a unit, I return it. All right, next round. Um, that's
You're not pushing your end game is what
yes,
you're saying. You're really just moving. It's a stall tactic that you're creating that doesn't
it's a
actually
stall
help
tactic,
you.
100%. Yeah. So it's never been high in my mind. I threw it in the sideboard for this tournament because I'm like, I don't know, it may help in some things, and there wasn't anything else that I was really looking to play. So it made it, and it probably won't make it again.
Fair enough. All right, so as we wrap up for the night, let's talk a little bit about maybe some changes. I think
Yeah.
one of the suggestions, like I like the Mando pilot. We were running that last set. But one of the big things was Trace Martinez was like a kind of a suggestion my co-host had was, hey, where's the Trace Martinez? Like why are we not running that? And one of the other things I thought of too was, okay, well, I know there isn't a lot of other one-drop ships, but there is a few other yellow one-drop ships. The Mining Guild tie is another one, and that also helps with the card draw. And I understand like C-3PO kind of messes with the stature, and then the third card was like, oh well, what about a like if you started running Boshek? But the issue is you have a lot of 2-drops, so I don't know like the math. We'd have to actually run the math on some of that. But so
Yeah.
what are some of your thoughts on like changing up some of the things going forward in the future?
So, yeah, like I said earlier, I've probably looked at or tried every card in the color scheme before, and some things have been cool, some things have worked well. I will say, like, things like Boshek is something I've thought about before, especially if I went more 1-drop focused and could take out a few 2-drops, but especially because, like, Razor Crest is the only 4-drop I play. Um, but still, it's something that I've not been super high on. I will say Trace Martez is one that I plan to bring in. I've already brought in since the tournament. I think having a 1-drop pilot play is huge. I'm focusing on 1-drop ship plays and 1-drop event plays. Why not also focus on the other aspect of the deck? As well, from the tournament, one of my takeaways was sometimes Rose is too slow. Sometimes she can't heal the unit before they're able to deal with it because it has to have attacked that turn. So I think bringing in Trace is one of the things that will help with that. Having her out early, putting her on a turn 1, like a 1-cost ship, and then putting Trace on it to avoid Tarkin Town even. Getting it to 5 health, and then if I get to attack with it next turn, I'm going to heal 2 of it off, even if they do Tarkin Town. So I think she opens up a lot more cost curve filling, a lot more being able to play what I need. So I think that one will get added for sure. I would say taking cards out, I'll probably be taking out L337. Just not a play that happens often enough. And as we've said, card draw is already a problem. So taking 2 cards for a 2-cost play is a little bit rough. Bamboozle kind of has that same problem, but it's doing way more to help the deck. So L3 will probably leave. I think Mandalorian I might drop as well. Having the 1 health bites me in the butt a lot of the times, especially when I'm only bringing a 3 health unit up to 4. Open fire will take out that unit in a heartbeat. And I think there isn't enough space right now in the meta to really warrant having the Mandalorian there. One of the other plays with him is sneak attacking him for 6, which is a lot of fun because you get a 5/6 unit that's readied and you exhaust 2 of theirs. But again, that's just not a play that happens that often to really warrant having the card there. So I think taking out those 2 pilots, I want to then replace it with more pilots to keep that upgrade and pilot quota around the same. So bringing in Trace Martez will be a big one. Another card that I've looked at before, but looking at it more recently, bringing in Covert Strength. One of the big factors is it can heal Rose, bringing her, like, if they run a 4 power unit into Rose and they're about to kill her with a 2 power unit, I heal her, and all of a sudden she's a 5/7 with maybe like 5 health left or something. So Covert Strength is, again, like, Rose is a little slow sometimes. Being able to heal that unit right when I need to and getting the benefit of it being a smuggle choice as well is something that's a little appealing. I'd say the only other card that I'm super high on, I guess there's 2. There's one that is a little untested and one that is a little more tested, but a competitive slot in the deck. I've looked at the Red Squadron Leader, which is the 3-cost blue hero, 3/4. When played, deal 2 damage to it and draw a card. That one will fix card draw issues, and it's a good card with Rose if you get to heal it off. Sometimes, again, Rose is a little too slow, but especially if Trace is in there, it'll make that card a little more playable. The problem is I already rarely play 3-cost cards on the 3 resource turn. And later, am I going to want to play just a 3/4? Or am I going to want to play a Falcon that I can put a pilot on and get a buff? Or that I could play the fast Falcon and get the extra damage out of that? So it's a hard fought cost slot in the deck. I think bringing it in as a sideboard option, especially running into things like Quinlan, will be more helpful in those instances. So it's a card that I've looked at. And then a card that is a little untested but promising is Jocasta Nu from the new set. Being able to move pilots around almost like the Poe leader with her, and then bringing the deck to kind of, in my opinion, a happy medium where I could go ground or I could go space. Possibly bringing in Hotshot Blaster to put on her or on Rose. There's a few different options with that, but I'd say the cards that I'm most quickly looking at adding are Trace Martez, Covert Strength, and probably that 3-cost card draw ship.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Let's say another option too, maybe more of a sideboard type card. And if you're not going Bocek, it kind of works. But like L337 is a card that you can play and smuggle out, and she's just kind of there to stop the control. But she's also really a good tech against Vader. Like, I don't think Vader realizes that when they have to play Quinlan, because you captured my Falcon, and guess what? I'm going to play this card and get my Falcon back ready, and you just wasted your capture ship on that. But
I will say she serves another purpose as well as a turn 1 play, because one of the hardest decks for Rose to run into is any form of set 1 Han. Being able to bring out the Falcon is just an absolute death trap to this deck. So
thank God that they had
before it's a 2-cost.
Yeah, thank God they don't have like the we have this whole meta where the force throw is just screwing Han 1 over. Though I have a Han 1 showcase I've never been able to really use.
I've seen some Han 1 force decks coming around. There were a few at the tournament. There was some Han red force center decks. And it's like, well, I'm either gonna screw you with force throw, I'm gonna screw you with the turn 1 Falcon and take your pick. So I don't know. It's always there. There's always a chance. I played. I will say, like, there's a chance of playing any deck, and I got a little bit lucky. I feel like in my matchups at the tournament, um, I sat down for the 4-1 round. I sat down across from a Boba Yellow, and it was a really good player. And he was like, "Oh, Rose Nabat. All right, well, here we go." And little did he know that since the beginning, Rose has been a deck that was designed to destroy Boba Yellow. And being able to put the indirect damage wherever I want it and then heal it off is really just a broken thing. And I played that player and won 2-0, and he was like, I don't know what just happened, but I just got destroyed by Rose. Okay. So any like decks can show up wherever. I played a Captain Rex droid manufactory for my 5-1 round. We're sitting there in the I think 5th and 6th place in the tournament going into the final round of Swiss. And here's Rex droid manufacturer playing Rose Nabat. Like, anything can happen in tournaments.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here, folks. If you're playing Boba Fett, if you're worried about it, just play Rose because you just heal that damage. Great. Like we have found we have a new video. I'm gonna clip that, and we'll have our own video. How do you beat Boba Fett? And then I'll just play the little clip of you saying this is how you beat Boba Fett with Rose, and we move on. And then I'll just push it out into the air.
The problem is Boba Yellow is a great deck to play into. Boba Dadavolt, horrible deck to play into. Overwhelming Barrage is a bit of a problem, but yeah, specific matchup stuff. I feel like I'll say for anyone who wants to pick this deck up, it's not the easiest one to pick up. I have thousands of reps with the deck into all kinds of different matchups, and there's specific ways that you have to play for every one. And right now, one of the largest problems is Boba Dadavolt for the deck because there's too many things that we have to play around. I have to play around keeping a Bamboozle for Boba. I have to try to keep a Jam for Overwhelming Barrage. I have to watch out for Fangfighter. I have to play around their turn 1 Kylo's Interceptor or Kylo's Silencer. So this deck can play around a lot of different things. Boba Dadavolt is one of the ones that I've had the most trouble with because there's so many things that I have to play around.
Fair enough. So, well, Cole or Cabo, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure. We talked Rose. I never thought I would do a Rose data or a deck tech, but here you go, folks. We got a Rose deck tech.
Rose is here. 5 months of work is all it took, but Rose is here finally.
And you all get to go experience the rewards of it. So the one thing I would encourage, if you want to, you can reach out to Cabo on Discord. That you're welcome to message him, talk to it. Otherwise, if you post comments in the link in this video, or post comments into whatever. If you post comments under this video, there we go.
Comment and share, subscribe.
Yeah, there you go. But if you post the comments in there, Cabo can kind of watch those. We can answer them. And if you come up with like other cool things that you thought, hey, maybe this would be good in this deck. Hey, maybe this will not be good. You know, like I like this. You know, post them and like he'll happily respond back as as the comments flow. So
there's threads as well. If you're in the K2D server, I'm in the Rose thread there. If you're in the main Star Wars Unlimited server, the Let's Build Rose Tico thread, I've tried to stay active in there, especially since this tournament. So if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer. I love this deck. I want the community to love it as much as I do. And let's play Rose.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cole.
Sure.
Hope you guys all have a good night, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.